Most of the things that we want to accomplish are going to require people. If we don't understand how to communicate with people and to actually get them aligned with what we're trying to do, we're not going to be able to hit our goals. My name's Tarab. I make videos about emotional intelligence every day. I want to talk about some of the skills that are required to be an expert conversationalist and to ideally get a result that is actually what we're looking for. The three things that need to be understood in conversation are tact. What it is that the goals of who we're talking to, what do those goals encompass? What is the emotional investment in those goals? The second step is obviously what we're trying to get out of the goal, the conversation. And the third step is the philosophy. Are you willing, how much are you willing to fold and how much are you willing to take? In Grant's words, sold, sell or be sold, essentially. So the first part is it's going to be very different based on whether or not you've known that person for a long time or whether or not you've just come across that person. Our level of comprehension when it comes to their goals and motivation is going to be everything when it comes to convincing them one way or another about our argument or about our perspective. So for new people, what I try to do is oftentimes I'll ask them questions that are a little bit left of field, but are deeper questions that give me a bigger understanding of who that person is and what their moral compass is. That combined with some pointed questions about what their exact goals are. Oftentimes, when you're going to get into a circumstance where you're negotiating, it's going to be at a higher level. It's going to be either the lowest level, I would imagine, is trying to convince your parents of something at home, and the highest level can be trying to convince an investor or a business partner or someone to take a sale. So understanding where that person's coming from is going to happen through a series of conversations. It's going to come through some research done if it's at a higher level. And it's going to also come through our understanding of their social circle and the people that they surround themselves with. So the reason I say this is because a lot of people are looking for cues on character. The two ways that you know how someone is going to treat you / the way that they think is A, observing how they treat other people and how they think about other people. And B is observing the people that they spend time with and the way that those people think. Once we nail down those two things, we're going to have a pretty good idea of who that person is and what they're trying to accomplish in their life. All of the words and all of the suggestions and everything else will come secondary to that intuition. The second part is, what do we want? There needs to be an ideal goal. There needs to be, a lot of people set these kind of like small amorphous goals. There needs to be something that we're like, this is it. This is the thing that I want. If we get that, we'll be happy. And ideally what we do is we push it a little bit further. Ideally we push it a little bit further from what we want to what we can't even imagine we would get. And the reason you want to do that is because you don't want to fall short of what you want. You never want to gyp yourself in a situation. So the best way to do that is to know what you want and then go a little bit beyond that, especially when it comes to compromising with people in general. It's a really good way to also increase your self-worth and your level of understanding about the situation. And it will force us also to think about the worst case scenarios more. And in order to get to the point where you know what you want out of a situation, being intentional in life is a muscle, I've realized. Being incredibly intentional in life is a difficult thing to do for most people. Because with the technology that we have and with the options that we have available, the tendency is to avoid being intentional. The tendency is to give in to the dopamine rushes that technology and people that we love and distractions give us. So in order to be more intentional, We need to eliminate a lot of those immediate gratification things and really start thinking to ourselves how it is that we want to start spending our days, spending our time. That in itself is the prerequisite to even getting to a conversation, getting what you vaguely want out of it, is having an intention for the conversation. Perhaps where it's going to be, what time of day is it going to occur, how quickly we're willing to hop on it, and what our ideal result is. Now, the cool part about a lot of these conversations also, and this is actually going into the third section, the philosophical aspect of associating with other human beings and essentially working out a conclusion. There is an ebb and flow in life, my friend. And it is said that the best negotiators are always going to be the ones that make sure most of the people in the room are happy with the conclusion, or at least the important players are happy with how things have ended up. The reason is because in a long-term sense, you want to have a good relationship with the person that you're doing this thing with, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your siblings, business partners, your worst enemy, literally whatever it is. You're going to want to have a situation where both of you, to some degree, are satisfied, have been heard. Now, the sell or be sold mentality is incredibly useful for getting a lot of money and getting what we want in the world. However, the sell or be sold mentality is not really all that great for building and retaining relationships. It belittles another person's aspirations. Or inspirations, their sense of self. How do we commit to a philosophy that aligns more with being congruent to having long-term relationships? Well, understanding the first two is the basis of it, sure. But really what it comes down to is how much are you willing to give up in order to make sure that there is stability down the road? Meaning that goal that you set for yourself, when you pushed it a little bit further out, the greed is going to want you to continue getting that thing that you want. The greed is going to continue, is going to say that little section from what you need and what you want, that's essential. The deeper part is going to realize that really what you need is something that falls in the middle of that. Really something that you want is something that falls in the middle of that. And that even if you hit this point, that's okay. Now when you go past that point, when you don't really get what you need, now that's a time to start thinking about alternatives. Perhaps having a conversation with someone else. Perhaps doing business with someone else. And that's a hard pill to swallow. But at the end of the day, there's 8 billion human beings, and there are infinite opportunities, my friend. I tell you to tell myself. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. Smash that thumbs up button. Give me a subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000. Let me know your thoughts about having those difficult conversations. My recommendation, have the damn thing. It's training. Do the hard stuff. Most people don't want to do it. The ones that do often end up getting ahead in life. Take care of yourself.